started me down a road of contemplating taking on a religious vocation later on. And I'm abbreviating the story very, very much.
Okay.
But over time...
Yeah, there's always more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I realized that I really was ready to answer that call. Because I'd had some marginal success with music.
Right.
I had some satisfaction. I made some good money here and there.
Good job.
Yeah. And I had achieved everything materially that I had kind of wanted from being that poor boy growing up in Mississippi by way of Long Island.
Yeah, with a few more cigars
in the humidor.
Yeah, with a few more cigars
in the humidor.
Yeah, just a few.
But, to live in an apartment with a single-parent mom and just through a course of events to have, a nice house with, acreage and multiple fireplaces, and I could drive what I wanted. And
things
I could
were all coming together.
Things were smoking. Materially, it was great. But I had that nagging sense that it wasn't satisfying something in quotation marks.
Yeah,
and
right.
I didn't know quite what that something was. And over time, folks in the church started seeing some gifts in me that I didn't see in myself.
That's the way it always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? You see it in somebody else. You never see it in yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I never would have thought. And if someone had said to me in my early 20s, one day you'd be thinking along those lines, I would have laughed him out of the where I was.
Yeah, right. What are you, nuts?
Yeah. So as this progressed, I finally came to the realization, maybe they're on to something. And I started pursuing it. And again, I'm abbreviating mightily.
Sure.
But I entered the ordination process in, well, actually, I guess it's been around 2005-ish or so.
Okay.
Multiple steps. I sort of did a lot of stuff up front rather than later.
Right.
And the church thoroughly approved of me pursuing ordination. And I moved down here in 2008, down here being Philadelphia.
Right.
Which is great because we were finally able to reconnect.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to over the internet. And I've been attending the Lutheran Seminary in Philadelphia, and I'm graduating on May 18th.
Amen.
And after that, I don't know where my call will be, but what a ridiculous, nonsensical journey from all that we've talked about the last hour and change, whatever it is, led to that.
Well, that's the way God works.
Yeah.
He never makes sense according to the way we think.
Oh, that's for sure.
Well, I want to unabbreviate a little bit of this. Okay, when we actually met person to person the first time, you recall, that was in 2000, and Nathan Batman was hosting the Herf in the Snow in Buffalo, New York. That's right. Come on up and get all your cigars together. We're going to do a crawl. Now, for those of you who don't know what a crawl is, Rodney, well, maybe you could explain to everybody what a crawl is.
Well, a crawl is a pre-planned...
It's a weird name.
Yes.
But it's what it is.
Yeah. And I've seen other types of crawls, like for food and things like that.
Right, yeah.
But what it is, you get a bunch of people together and you make a visit, a pre-planned visit to multiple places. Now, if we're food, maybe you'd pick out 4 or 5 places and you'd get an entree, like an appetizer in one place and maybe, dessert in another. But you have this whole thing planned out of going to different places as a group, just for fun. And for the cigar crawl, we went to a variety of cigar stores.
Right. Now, the night before, though, we met.
Yes.
And Nathan met us, and we got settled in our little bungalow. Nice place we had.
It was very nice.
Really nice. And
we went to Duff's and got some wings.
That's right. The original place where supposedly the hot wings were invented. And they'd redone the place because it was actually a shanty back in the 70s or whatever it was when they first started making them. But, we went there. I have a picture of us, too. It's right here.
Yeah, we went to Duff's and with the atomic sauce.
Atomic sauce.
And we went to a Sabres game.
And we had some...
Yeah, we had some
ginger brews. Yeah, right.
I really loved that Sabres game. That was.
That's right. You went to the game, and I went with Nathan to Shabbat.
Oh, okay.
That's right. He had Shabbat that night. You had a game. And it's like, fine, I'm going to go with Nathan. We're going to go to Shabbat. I roll into Shabbat, and they're like, who's this Gentile? I mean, they were wonderful. They were wonderful. I had a great time, and And then, of course, we all met back at the place later, and then we hung out for a while, and then we went to bed, got up the next day, and we first went to the Tinderbox.
Right.
And, I had already brought all the cigars I needed, so I only maybe bought one or something like that. And then we headed off. And now here was the unusual thing a lot of people don't know about 2000 in Buffalo. The crawl was on a Saturday, and earlier that week on Sunday, actually, the week before, they had their typical winter storm, and they had about 2.5, 3 feet of snow on the ground. During the week, a warm front had moved through, and they had 2 rainstorms and washed everything away. By the time we got there and Saturday morning rolled around, the sun broke out, the snow was gone, and it went up to 72 degrees. It was, I think, the record, the warmest February, whatever that day was, in history. And we were walking around in T-shirts and
I was
jackets.
mad because I packed this big suitcase. I was ready. I mean, I was ready for Siberia.
I was too.
Yeah, you know.
I was like, I had never thought that we would need summer clothes.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, parka.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and so we get in my minivan, and we're trucking around, the two of us together. We're following the pack, and we're like just cruising around. After we left the Tinderbox, we went, I think, to some, it was like a restaurant bar or something.
Yeah.
And we went there for lunch, and they gave away a whole boatload of cigars. I mean, you didn't come with cigars and leave with less. You came and left with more. It was unbelievable. A tremendous amount of generosity. A lot of fun. And by the time we hit that place, actually, we went to a place for, I guess it was like pre-lunch, I forget, but we went to the place that had the outdoor cafe. They didn't have the outdoor cafe normally, but they had it that day because it was so warm out. They started putting tables outside. We went inside and ate and hung out and smoked cigars, and we just had, I mean, absolutely the most fantastic day. But the thing I remember about it the most was while we were driving around, you were so blown away with, like, we were listening to music, and you happened to notice some Joe Focht tapes I had sitting there, and you're like, who's this guy? And I started telling you Joe Focht is my pastor, Calvary Chapel, Philadelphia, blah, blah, blah. And next thing I know, you were something like, wait, you're a Christian? I said, yeah, I'm a Christian. And you were like, I didn't know you're a Christian. I said, well, I didn't know you were a Christian. And we're like, what the heck? What's wrong with you? Why didn't you tell me this before? I had no idea. And all of a sudden we're like, wow, we're brothers of the Lord and didn't know it.
Yeah.
And
we busted out into to prayer right in the
you were. I remember we were driving down the road and you were praying and we're driving. I was like, this is amazing. And you were thanking the Lord for this great day we're having. And it just went from a great time to a great friendship and fellowship. And it just turned and it just blossomed. And the rest of the day it just went uphill and uphill. It was just unbelievable. It just got better and better. Everything that happened that day, culminating when we went back to our place, everybody followed us. All the guys that we were hanging out with that did, not all of them. There was like 30 people, but like 8 of them or 9 of them came back with us to our place, and we sat up till 2:30 in the morning talking and smoked. I think I smoked 9 cigars that day.
Yeah.
I was all smoked out.
Yeah, there was a great bunch of guys. Vanderslice and
right. Yeah. Craig Vanderslice was there and a few other guys.
Yeah.
Really neat time. And then, of course, I gave you them tapes. You went home. And then what? You were like... that
was a big turning point, too, because, not that he needs any props from me, but Pastor Joe's teaching really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And that also had a lot of influence on me in terms of how I looked at Scripture, how it could be taught. And I liked the fact very much that he taught it as someone who had been there and done that.
Right. He was an old hippie. He was a drug addict, the whole thing.
Can I just interrupt?
Sure, Daniel.
We've got a record for North Star Radio. We've got 983 listeners at the moment.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely fantastic.
Way to go, Rodney.
And that beats all previous North Star listeners.
And and you didn't like my promo.
I hated it.
I'm one thing I'm convinced of. If I do go on the road again, I'm just going to go with a Gregorian.
Just do the Gregorian chants. Fuck everything else.
They're all
It doesn't matter,
monastic.
does it?
They don't want much.
I got the F-bomb. I apologise, but who cares?
Yeah, really.
That is an absolute record.
How about that? Well, congratulations, Rodney.
Well, I don't think I can necessarily take credit for it.
Oh, I believe you can. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's nice to know.
Yeah.
But going back to Pastor Joe, I think it's really important, and it's something that I'm definitely going to carry through my ministry. And I'm not disparaging anybody's faith tradition or their favorite pastor, but a lot of people present religion and faith as something where you have to be perfect before you can be involved in it.
Right.
And so therefore you come to church every Sunday feeling like you're a slug, because how could you possibly be like the people in the Bible and everybody that gets lifted up like Mother Teresa? You know, and the bottom line is that a lot of those folks in Scripture and a lot of us today, I mean, we have issues and things to work through, and that perfection only existed on the cross. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, I was really refreshing to hear him teach as someone who's in the struggle with the rest of us.
Right.
And that made a real impression on me.
Mm-hmm.
So here I sit before you, you know, preordinate, if that's the word.
Right.
And who would have thunk it? You know, from the way I was raised and the experiences that I had, leading to this. Right. And I don't regret a single minute of it, because everything was a learning lesson.
Right.
Everything taught me something, and it's all now the composite of who I am as a person and what I hope to share with others.
Right.
So it's been a blessing. It really has been.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're trying to get we're trying to get Daniel on the horn. Daniel, are you there? Hello, Daniel. Daniel, my producer.
Absolutely, I'm here.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Yes, we can. Yes, we can run over.
Okay, all right. Now, I just want to make sure, because we're getting close to the top of that. We're actually, what did I tell you, Rodney? I said 2 hours could go by, like, before you can say Bob's your uncle.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you okay with doing a little overtime?
Bob's your uncle.
If that's okay.
I want to do
Bob,
that. It's more
well,
than
actually, Bob,
but I got Daniel first.
I'm hearing but actually in the background.
Yeah. What? Are you cool, Daniel? Everything's good?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to put you under pressure. I just want to make sure. You know, I've been trying to get a hold of you, and I haven't been able to. So, you know, what do? You call on your producer. Oh, Daniel. Anyway, Anyway, folks, is Timothy still with us?
I'm right here.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm listening. That's great.
Okay. Well, anyway, so now you're looking at graduation, right? And I just want to make sure you're here, Tim. I want to make sure you didn't fall off the face of the earth. That's all.
Oh no, this is great. I mean, this is a fascinating story about a really cool spiritual journey. I'm just kind of like I'm listening to it all. It's a great ride.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, because I tell you what, I've been fascinated with Rodney's story for years. All right, he's been a great friend, and he's one of those guys that can call up and he'll pray with me in a heartbeat about anything going on. It doesn't matter what. And now Rodney's at the point where it's like, okay, Lord, what do you want to do with me? Now, one of the things you were telling me was that, because of the economy, a lot of pastors that were, anticipating retiring or not retiring because they can't live on in this economy. Their severance package, what they'd be given to live on. So a lot of guys are staying on, which means therefore there's not the openings, as it were, available that maybe there were 3 years ago when you actually entered into seminary. Yeah. So this puts you in a position just like so many other people.
Well, yeah, but, like they say, you walk in faith, not by sight. And a perfect example, when we moved to Philadelphia in August of 2008, we left with our house still in the market.
Gotcha.
I don't know if people remember 2008, but it was not a great year for real estate. And we left on faith. We just said that God will send us. We only need one. So God will send us a buyer whenever he sees that time to be appropriate. And so from August until January of 2009, we're living in Philadelphia and still kind of carrying the note and all that goes along with having the house up in New Hampshire. I mean, we had it shut up and, to get the water, out of the heating system and all those things that you do.
Right.
But we were kind of carrying that. And then I'm telling you, New Hampshire in 2009 got one of the worst winters it ever had in its life.
Oh, yeah.
Ice storms and nor'easters. It was just horrible.
Right.
And in the middle of that winter, a person says, we really like this house. We want to buy it.
Oh, yeah?
Who buys a house in January and who buys a house in the middle of a record bad winter?
God?
Well, apparently so.